Hi, my name is René Corado. I am from Guatemala. I grew up in the streets of Guatemala as a Shoeshine boy. I was very poor. My family was very poor. I really many times I ate from the trash, from the trash dump, and so because many problems in Guatemala and like 36 years of civil war, I decided to come to United States, where I came with only with sixth grade of schooling. I was 21 years old when I came in here, and so I didn't speak English. So I came in here with the idea, with the dream that education was the one who will open the door for my dreams. So I now I am a biologist and I am a writer. I wrote this book, The Adventure of René Corado, the Shoeshine Boy, which I'm gonna read part of this for you guys. And say this: René Corado, collection manager of the Western Foundation of Vertebrate Zoology, the museum with the largest collection of eggs and nests of birds of the world since 1985. He was made a long career as a researcher of eggs and nests of birds in Ecuador, Costa Rica, United States, and Guatemala. He is the founder of El Lustrador Foundation, which supports children with limited resources so that they can have an education. He has published the book El Lustrador 2014, declared a cultural patrimony of Guatemala. He co-edited Birds Nest of the World 2012 with Dr. Linnea Hall, Dreams of Shoeshine Boy 2011, and co-edited Egg and Nest with Rosamond Purcell and Linnea Hall 2008. He has received several awards, among them Guatemalan Writer of 2015 in Hollywood, California. I never thought that a brief dream during a very turbulent flight would end in this great outcome, the adventure of René Corado, the Shoeshine Boy. There is no doubt that if we put action into dreams, many are reached. It all started on a trip from California to Louisiana while traveling with my friend and colleague biologist Dr. Linnea Hall on the last flight of the day to Louisiana during a tropical storm that lashed the state and will not allow the aircraft to land. The result, with the notes that my friend wrote during the trip, was a book for my family, which was extended to distribute it to a wider audience, titled El Lustrador, the Shoeshine Boy. This book has given me great satisfaction and helped get some recognition. It has also taught me that life is worth living. The reason for printing The Adventures of René Corado, the Shoeshine Boy, is to transmit through images and words to our children how important it is to believe in dreams. And I summarize the message as this: a dream cannot be achieved if we do not put our action into it. As a parent, and thinking that you, the reader, also are one, I wish fervently that by reading this book, you will be encouraged to follow any dream you have. If it is the dreams of your children, encourage them to continue flying. There is not a crazy or impossible dream. The impossible dream is a form of possibility, and a nameless crime is to cut off the wings of the dreams. I decided to publish this bilingual book to give children the opportunity to read it in two countries that are part of my life: Guatemala, where I was born, where my wife was born, and where my first daughter was born, and the United States of America, the country that opened its arms to me, also where my other children were born, where I made myself a man, and where I discovered a sense of responsibility. Again, I thank my family for all the support that they have given me and that they continue to provide on this new project, especially my wife, Mary, who has never questioned any of my initiatives, although they seem crazy or very difficult to implement. I also want to give my sincere thanks to my friend Linnea Hall because at all times I have been offered her support. None of these projects would have been taking shape without her clear view. I can speak I can speak, read, and write in English, but I wanted to make sure everything was properly edited by someone native from the United States and whose first language was English. This is the case with Linnea, but also it is an honor to have written this book in collaboration with her. I also thank Kevin Ramirez for making the beautiful illustration and Amable Sanchez review work and writing on the threshold that invites us all to enter. As you can easily see upon reading, there were many adventures René Corado took to achieve his dream, but his most important key to opening the door to such dreams were school and education. Remember, please, that education is vitally important for all of us, whether we are children or adults. Thank you for the opportunity to let me enter your homes through this book. Threshold. If you are looking for a famous book, do not read this. If you are looking for an example that will light the way and help you move on, do not stop reading it. Whoever wrote it is not a writer, is only an exemplary man. If this is sufficient for you, continue. Match the rhythm of your way to his and walk with him. He will not give you any lecture or submit to you any test. He simply will speak what he knows, and it will be same as speaking of what he has lived and what he has suffered. If you learn to listen, soon you will be his friend. It will be your luck. You will realize that being a real man is not as easy as some believe, or it may be easier than others think. It all happens on how the heart is oriented. In life there is only one compass and one north. The rest is an arid paramo or barren wasteland where there tends to spontaneously grow distrust, selfishness, anxiety, and sometimes baseless illusions. So I will read not the whole book because it's long, but I will show you some of the art that is in here. But you can get your own book and read it because it's bilingual. It's English and Spanish. So he said, René was born. I was reading in Spanish. René was born one morning in a humble adobe house on a small bed made of agave strings and with a mattress of palms. A strong storm with a lot of rain, lightning, and thunder was blowing. The roosters were singing. Viviano, René's father, was the only person who delivered babies in the village. He has helped Dominga, his wife, with their 6 previous children. In this town, there were no hospital or doctors. Viviano found René's name in an old newspaper. He thought that the name of someone from France would be perfect because he would be successful in Guatemala. After his birth, he grew up semi-wild among thorny shrubs, cactus, wild animals, and chickens. The Negrito, as he was called because of his dark skin, grew up free in the middle of a world of tall hills, birds, butterflies, and trips to the river, the Rio Motagua, in which he often swam happily. Here I am with a grandma. Let me tell you something of the village where René was born. El Chical, Guatemala, lies in the municipality of Morazán in the department of El Progreso, about 75 kilometers north of the capital city of Guatemala. It is the hottest place in Central America. The forests are turning, and it never rains in the dry season. But when it rains, the storms are huge. In René's childhood, there were not roads or cars, only trail for mules. The village was very simple and very poor. There was no plumbing, electricity, or running water, no phone, car, TV, police, or schools. Only houses built by his dad with adobe, which Viviano made in ovens that he also built himself. Viviano was the doctor, dentist, priest, barber, architect, engineer, and carpenter. He was the wise man of the village. He never attended school, but he knew how to read and write, and he was the only one who cool in the village. But despite being born in a world without vaccines, hygiene, shoes, or toy stores, little Rene grew up happy and carefree at the side of his grandmother, Mama Fina, the mother of Dominga. Viviano loaned Rene to Mama Fina because she lived alone near their house. The child grew up thinking that his grandmother was actually his real mother. His grandmother was very good to him. She served him lunches on the banks of the river, and while she washed clothes, Rene played in the sand or looked in the river for plastic soldiers, Indians, little horses, and other toys that floated downstream, abandoned or lost by the rich children of the city. Here's Rene climbing trees looking for bird nest. As a normal curious child, Rene was alert for the hatching of mama chicks in the nests that were built in the walls of the river. These bird nests and cavities that Rene would dig into. He also investigated oriole nests, which hung like a Catholic censers from the tree branches. As a child, he was attracted by the natural environment. His father always scolded him for disturbing animals, but that didn't stop him from being curious. He almost never had any problem with Mama Fina because if he asked for something and she had it, she give it to him immediately. The little old woman adored him and he adored her, but on some occasion he disobeyed. One day when his grandmother went out to cut wood, he pulled a chair and went up to investigate a basket with bread and other snacks that she had saved in a tire that Viviano had hung from the ceiling to prevent rats and other animals from eating their food. But what a disaster. Mama Fina came back for her machete when he put his hand into the basket with the bread. I am angry with you, Rene. You know that if you want something, you only have to ask me and I will give it to you. He felt that his entire world collapsed. He cried without stopping for several hours until she embraced him and forgave him. He never again did something that would upset her. So that is Rene playing, and so as I say, I won't read the whole book, but then Rene with having the cows to the river. But it said, living in El Chicalo was very beautiful because Rene thought that each day of his life was a pleasant copy of the previous day. However, in 1968, when Rene was 8 years old, one day he was suddenly pulled from his peaceful life when his parents took him and his sibling to live in the capital of Guatemala. They didn't ask him if he was in agreement or not, and they didn't give him time to say goodbye to family or friend, because the idea was to get out of the village without telling anyone. Don Viviano had decided that they need to move to the city. So, and this is when I saw for the first time the first bus. The day he left El Chical, Rene saw for the first time in his life a bus. For him, this was the first motorized vehicle he had seen, since his only transport car had been mules, horses, or his own 2 feet. When he saw it coming, he thought that it was a giant mad animal that wanted to hurt him. He ran back toward El Chical, but his brother Alfredo, who had come from the capital to pick him up, stopped him and carried him, kicking and screaming onto the strange monster. When the bus began to move, Rene wondered why all the trees were running so fast backwards outside the windows. When I arrived to the Guatemala city, that for me, it was weird. The impact of the change from El Chical to Guatemala City was huge and tragic. It was if he has just emerged from a cave. The city was tough for him. For example, when he said hello to the people in the street, nobody answered. Each person was worried about his own problems and didn't have time to pay attention to a barefoot child. One time the cousin realized, he has a cousin in the city. One time the cousin realized he want to have some fun with Rene, since he didn't know the jokes of the boys from the city. For example, a neighbor charged a penny for each child to watch TV for a couple hours. The cousin paid for Rene and told him that the TV is a machine where you see Indians fighting against cowboys. He also warned him, you should be careful because a bullet of the cowboys or an arrow of an Indian could be fatal. Rene naively believed it, and while he watched the movie, he dodged bullets and arrows instead of enjoying the film. Finally, he decided to run out of the place to save his life. While his cousin laughed, later his cousin told him that the movie wasn't real, and Rene felt terrible, embarrassed. There he is. And so, and there is more. I will skip some pages so that you can read the book. Rene also did not understand why they bought and sold fruit and chickens in the city. And El Chical fruit was free and chickens were not sold, but were traded for honey and cheese. Money was something new for him. Once he learned about it, it had a big effect on him for the rest of his life. His family was extremely poor and barely had enough money to eat. Beans and tortillas were the daily menu. His dad had bought a lot of beans and corn from El Chical, so they had enough to eat until his dad found work. However, Viviano's salary was not enough to provide regular food and clothing for the whole family. Seeing all of this need, Rene decided to go to work to help. At the age of 8 years old, he began to shine shoes and became one of the main providers for the family. He attended public school in the morning and then worked as a Shoeshine boy later in the afternoon. And that's me as a Shoeshine boy. Every day after school in the afternoon and weekend from 8 to 6 p.m., he walked the street looking for shoes to clean. He never told his parents about all the problems that happened while he worked. That way he protected them and took care of them. He only gave his mother the money and the food that good people gave him. If they had known all of the abuse and humiliation he had to suffer, they might not have known what to do. Rene learned how to be good Shushan boy. Viviano had always said that hard work was the only way in which he was going to come out of poverty. And that work made a man proud. So Rene worked very hard shining the shoes of military officers, doctors, lawyers, and teachers who pay more money than the customer of the street and also sometimes gave him food. After they got to know him, they trust him. And many of them even invite him to eat at their own tables with them where he was taught how to use forks and knives. Most of the money he earned, he will give it to his mother so that she could buy food. Rene normally came home with food that he asked for at the houses of his wealthy clients or with leftovers that he found in the dining rooms at the bus station. He always took the best food to his house and never told his parents that he was searching for food for himself in the trash of the marketplaces. Sometimes he had to compete with the dogs in the street for food in dumpster in order to have a lunch for himself. Here's when I was looking for food and I had to fight with the dogs for it, and so it was really hard, but I had to do it because I want to survive. Then I will skip all of this other part and so how I survived the streets and start working in a newspaper. So as I say, I came to United States only with 6th grade of schooling, but I decided to learn English. I decided to be a biologist. So I went to school and I graduated in school and I keep going because I want to be a biologist. I work in as a gardener, and the the owner of the place, he told me if I went to school, I was able to be a biologist. So I decided to work hard. So I went to school, and he said Rene worked hard and applied himself to learning as much as he could. Ed Harrison, that was my boss, saw this, and he and the director of the museum decided that Rene should conduct fieldwork for birds with other museum biologists. From 1988 to 1992, he was sent with biologists to study birds, eggs, and nests in the jungles of Ecuador in the Amazon River basin. Each visit was for 3 months, and the team was regularly transported by helicopter to the jungles and dropped off by provision with provision for only a couple of weeks. They had to live off the land, and here he had many adventures. So that's me in the Amazon. And then I moved to Costa Rica. And here I graduated as a biologist, and I'm very happy about it. And then I started working in Guatemala. I started a project in Guatemala. I went back. I came here only with 6th grade schooling, and I went back as a biologist to help Guatemala. And I said, and here I am at the museum. And he said, the Shoeshine boy who thought that he was not college material, with the help of his family and the support of good bosses and friends, has now graduated with 2 diplomas. He was the first of the family to ever go to college. His brother Alfredo and Mama Fina were not alive to see the graduation, but they always thought that Rene could do it. For you, dear reader, this means that you should never think that you cannot stay in school and finish it. Because if Rene was able to do so, even with all the obstacles in his life, you can too. Your path to success is through school, where you will be exposed to new ways of thinking, new people, and new possibilities for careers. And then there is a lot here of encouragement words. And so here I am with all my birds. As you can see, well, you have to read the book entirely to see what happened. As you can see, it wasn't easy, but it was possible. All of this was possible because school, education, really is the key to open the door of the dreams. So you can buy your own copy. This is bilingual, English and Spanish. Yeah, you can buy your own copy and read the whole story. And so you will find the information here in this video, some place in here. So thank you for watching this video. See you soon.